Hi, everybody. Tim Hughes here. I'm the CEO and co-founder of DLA Ignite. With me today, I've got Jonathan Escobar Marin, and we're going to be talking about his great new book, Lead to Beat, the leadership rhythm that shapes tomorrow. Really enjoyed it, Jonathan. Thank you so much. Where can people find you?
First of all, Tim, thank you very much for having me here. It's an absolute pleasure. Where people can find me in LinkedIn, I think it's the best place. Also, there is the book website that is leadtobeat.com. It's also an easy way, and there is the connection to all my social media and the different places where they can find me or my team, ActioGlobal, across the internet.
Excellent. Thank you, Jonathan. Really enjoyed the book. Thank you so much. First question, defining the rhythm. You write that leadership is a rhythm rather than a set of skills. What exactly constitutes an organizational rhythm, and how can leaders tell if they are currently offbeat?
Yeah, what we have proven is that it's absolutely necessary for leaders and organizations to set the rhythm, and that's something where there is not a manual. It's something that each organization has to, and each leader, each top leader, and then the leadership team has to go through. The leadership rhythm is based on four fundamental drivers: brutal focus on what matters the most; building a network of A players that work on those things that matter the most; third is having a mindset that is obsessed with winning and not doing, impact over activity, as I explained in the book; and last but not least, a discipline drumbeat that evolves all the other drivers continuously. So it means it evolves your focus, it evolves your talent network, it evolves also your mindset, your execution rhythm, to make sure that every quarter you throw away your trophies and start over again.
Yeah. The lead to beat catalyst. What was the specific moment or observation in your career that made you realize traditional leadership models were no longer sufficient for shaping tomorrow?
Well, I wouldn't say it was just a moment, no. The reason I decided to come back to Barcelona and also to fund my company ActioGlobal was because I saw there was three fundamental gaps, and that I experienced these gaps as an executive in different organizations. First is the gap between strategy and execution. Myself, with a lot of colleagues, we spent a lot of time, 6 months every year, 4 6 months doing the strategic work, a lot of offsites, a lot of good intentions, a lot of PowerPoints. But then what happened is that when we were in March, every year that PowerPoint was lost in translation, right? And I thought that was a problem to solve. That was the first one. The second one was the gap between the executive team and the people below. No, I found across my career that there is an absolute big gap, between the knowledge, the information, the all that executives know, and what only the layer below the executive team know. And I thought that was a gap worth closing. And third is, no one was specifically, working to close this gap, not with PowerPoints, but with real execution. No, means working as personal trainers, working hand in hand with the top leaders and closing this gap. And for the same reason I decided to create my company, ActioGlobal, it's for the same reason I decided to write my book, to democratize, the best practices in order to solve these gaps that I had just explained.
Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen that a lot in corporate. So yeah, I can understand that. So purpose versus performance. Many leaders feel they have to choose between a people-first culture and a performance-first culture. How does your framework prove that these two are actually symbiotic?
Well, what we have proven across organizations is that these are two things that complement each other, right? When you give people clarity, when you give people the possibility to have an impact, when you enable people by creating a rhythm that is that has radical transparency, where teams have access to the leaders, not to micromanage, not for micromanage, but rather for unlocking them. This is what creates an organization that is people-centric, because politics are gone, and ambiguity or lack of clarity is going. And then it's people, working on those things that matter, people collaborating to each other. It's organizations where people that previously were a bit more hidden because they were not in the first line, or they were not the best storytellers or the best presenters, but are people that can work on strategic missions and deliver. Therefore, by creating an organization that is brutally focused on the widely important first, second, where these priorities are crystal clear for everyone without any hint of ambiguity, and where we are managing the tension between today and tomorrow and acknowledging this tension and giving people below the leadership team the ownership to win on those strategic missions. That is the way we have proven we do build people-centric organizations. People-centric because, first of all, we are obsessed with people that are consumers, and second, we put people inside of the organization to serve these consumers. So customers at the center, people, the talent in your organization right in front of the consumers to deliver what is needed.
Breaking the firefighting cycle. A common pain point for managers is firefighting all day. How does lead to the beat philosophy help a leader transition from reactive crisis management to proactive strategic rhythm?
Well, first of all, is what I explained, is to create a predictable leadership rhythm where, with a lot of discipline, discipline equals freedom, right? And discipline builds trust. So first of all is a predictable leadership rhythm where leaders every quarter sit together without silos, without politics, with a mindset of disagreeing but committing. So it means being not aligned on everything, but making sure that once they leave the room, they are aligned, and every quarter making sure that they come out of the room with a clear set of direction, of destinations for the organization. And I'm saying destinations and direction and not just priorities, because I think a lot of people confuse focus with priorities. I'm not saying a deterministic set of priorities that is defining every single thing you have to do in the next 3 months, and then you need to do one thing after the other and nothing will happen. No, I'm saying our destinations, the places where we want to be in 3 months, in 1 year, in 5 years, in 10 years, right? And through execution, learning of what works, what doesn't work, iterating on those things that doesn't work, double down on those things that are working and are helping us to win. And that's the combination between having a very predictable leadership system that puts brutal focus at the same time, really is connected to the reality, and iterating and changing the tactics as much as needed when we are not going to get to our destinations. That's the way we build this predictable leadership rhythm across organizations in the world.
Standard work for leaders. We often hear about standard work for the shop floor. What does standard work look like for C-suite executives in your model?
Well, it's not really standard work, right? I like the connection you were doing. It's rather, stability. It's rather making leaders predictable for the organization to enable that people, that the teams in the organization can really own strategic missions, deliver on those missions, and whenever there is an obstacle or problem that is out of the framework, out of the decision-making power of the teams know where to find the leaders, and they know how this problem will be unlocked, and they can trust leaders that they will help them to unlock and to continue executing, right? So more than standard work, I would say is high expectations. It's having high expectations from top leadership so that we can have high expectations on the teams working on the strategic missions for the organization. And what we don't want is the top management to be working on these strategic missions. We do want that the people below the executive team, the leadership team, is working on those missions. And in order to enable that, in order to make that a reality, what we need is, to put high expectations on leaders, not to micromanage, but to set clear destinations, and then to have proximity without micromanaging, so that every time that the teams need support, need strategic guidance, direction, leaders are there. And we like to set a rule in the organizations that is that obstacles, decisions are not alive for more than 1 week. So it means that we don't slow down execution for more than 1 week. That's the maximum, and we should never, postpone or delay or slow down execution for more than 1 week in the organizations.
Right. Yeah. So the role of humility. You've spoken about the importance of knowing what you don't know. How does a leader maintain authority and direction while remaining humble enough to foster a learning culture?
I think it has a lot to do with having more ambition than resources. And what I want to say with this is that when organizations have more ambition than resources, when organizations are not defending the past, when organizations are always looking forward, when organizations have what I call the nothing mindset, that means that every quarter they throw away the trophies,
Yeah.
and they treat the new quarter as if they were 0-0 in the score, right? I think when you have this mindset of ambition over resources, then humility is an absolute precondition for that. Because therefore, what matters is to be a better version of yourself, is to deliver better, faster, leaner than we used to do. And then we all focus on learning, we all focus on changing whatever is necessary to deliver on the next version. And no one is protecting the past, because we are all looking forward and not looking backwards. I think that is how we see it and how we have proven it in organizations across the world.
Right. I was talking to somebody in AWS recently, and they talk about day one mentality, where it's the day one of the company.
Absolutely.
And it's like, are we going to do this? Is it day one or is it day two? And if it's day two, we're not going to do it. So
absolutely.
Learning through uncertainty. With the pace of change today, long-term planning feels harder than ever. How does a consistent leadership rhythm provide stability when the external environment is chaotic?
It has to do, first of all, with we like that organizations work, or we build organizations that work in 3 fundamental time horizons, right? In the short term, those things that need to happen in the quarter, and they need to have an impact on the P&L. Second is the things that need to be worked so that they have an impact in the P&L, probably in 6 months, 9 months, 12 months. It's different depending on the strategic mission. And then those things that will deliver the P&L in the next 3 years, right? And again, when you have this holistic view, when you are working on these 3 time horizons, of course, things happen, and then you have your quarterly rhythm to iterate and to learn and to scrap everything that is not working. But again, you have a destination, and in this destination, through this destination, you will have obstacles, you will have turbulence, you will have ambiguity, you will have a lot of fragmentation, because that's the world today, yes, but your destination doesn't change. What changes are the paths, are the tactics, are the hows, are the teams, are the different iterations that are needed to get to your mission. And connected to this, we at ActioGlobal, we like to say that you need to treat your 10-year goals as a 3 months mission, right? Because that's the only way to break down a super big ambition, a dream, into actionable steps that help us to also confront the turbulence, the ambiguity, as it shows up week by week, because problems show up week by week, not month by month. And then what this problem is that every time a problem, a learning happens, we convert this learning into better execution for the next cycle. That's the way we shape the rhythms in the companies.
We've had a question from Andrew Slesser. Andrew is a very frequent watcher of ours. He says, good afternoon. Is the divide between management and the workforce widening, or is middle management not communicating correctly between the two groups?
I have the impression it's widening, right? And probably it's widening because we have a lot of, because of the speed at which the world is changing, the fragmentation that we have, the increasing ambiguity that we have, turbulence. We are seeing it, things that happen in 5 years now happen in 1 quarter, right? And this, I do believe that this, in a natural way, creates a widening divide between management and the workforce. I think what is very important is what I said before: crystal clear transparency. So in this natural disconnect that happens in today's world, we need to have a lot of connection between management and the teams. We like to set organizations in 2 fundamental layers. So one is the executive team, defining the destinations, the directions, and then the teams. The teams are composed of middle management, of workforce, whoever is needed in order to work on this in direction. So we like to see the organization not as layers, but basically as an ecosystem, right? And with a lot of transparency, as I said. So transparency of the destinations, transparency of the execution plans that are going to bring us, transparency about what we change every week, because yes, we need to change things every week in order to get to that destinations because of the world happening. And I do believe, as like we had in the question, that it's communication is key. Communication is very, very difficult in today's world because also we are working in a hybrid environment. Communication is not as easy as it used to be, and therefore this rhythm is a synonym of communication also, in order to not widen this gap, but to close it, and to close it without micromanagement, which is very important. We don't want to see micromanagement because then we are achieving exactly the opposite that we want to achieve in the organization.
So the tomorrow element, the subtitle of your book mentions shaping tomorrow. What's the biggest mistake leaders make today that actively sabotages their organization's future?
To believe that, that long-term and short-term need to be in different operating systems. And that's a big mistake, first of all. Long-term, short-term must be in the same operating system. So it means in the same rhythm. And also that's connected to the second mistake that we see, that there are people that mistake moving on a weekly rhythm of execution with working on something that is long-term, right? So it means it has nothing to do. As I said before, if you want to be whatever you want to be in 5 years, it's better that you start to move today and you start to move on a daily basis or in a weekly basis. Those that mistake, frequency of progress with horizon of impact have a problem in today's world, because in order to build something great for the next 5 years, you need to deliver at pace every single week, and that's a mistake, a very common mistake we see in organizations.
If a listener or a watcher feels their team is currently out of sync, what is the one micro rhythm or small habit they could implement tomorrow morning to start the transformation?
I would say I don't want to hear
it's a difficult question, I know.
No, I don't want to be a reductionist answer, to be honest, because to be honest, we have never achieved success with just one micro habit. What I'm explaining, what we are explaining in the book, is what we call it the minimum viable system in order to deliver results. So we, and to be honest, we are a company that we innovate on this. We are highly specialized on this. We only do this in organizations across the world. So every week we are innovating in doing it simpler and better. And up to now, we haven't achieved a simpler, system to deliver results. So brutal focus quarterly, then activating teams that work on this brutal focus, moving on a weekly rhythm of progress to unlock obstacles as they show up, and again, every quarter, throwing away the trophies, taking the learnings, and deciding what we keep, what we double down on it, what we stop, what we start, in order to deliver our short-term, our medium-term, and our long-term missions. This is the minimum viable system that we have proven in organizations across the planet.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Jonathan. And if people didn't see that at the beginning, this is Jonathan's book, Lead to the Beat, the leadership rhythm that shapes tomorrow. So if I wanted to buy a copy of this, where can I get one from?
Well, in Amazon.com, I think it's one of the simpler ways. If you Google it, you will find it also in a lot of other retailers. But I know it's also now, the editorial told me that it's in the Hudson libraries in the airports in the United States. So if anyone is traveling these days, you can get into the Hudson libraries and you will find the book there, and you can get it. And I will be very happy to get the pictures of the book in the libraries across the United States.
Excellent. And Jonathan, where can we find details about you?
Lead2beat.com, ActioGlobal.com, JonathanEscobarMarin.com, right? These are the 3 websites that we have available. And of course, LinkedIn is the place where we all connect, Jonathan Escobar Marin, and very happy to connect with all the leaders that want to shape the leadership development for tomorrow.
Excellent. Thank you so much for coming on today and explaining that. I mean, you're so passionate about the subject and so knowledgeable about it. It is just awesome. Jonathan, thank you.